There's a cardinal, Cardinal Nguyen van Thuan, who gave a retreat to the Holy Father. In 1974, in March, he was appointed the Archbishop of Saigon. At the end of March, he was there. Well, you know what happened at the beginning of April. We pulled out, and Saigon fell to the communists. And he was the new archbishop of the place, and he was confined to his house until August. On August 15th, in Independence Square, he was incarcerated, and he would be in prison for the next 13 years of his life. 9 of those 13 years he would spend actually in solitary confinement. There's a reason why they had to put him in solitary confinement, and that's what this is for. It's to illustrate what the early Christians experienced and what our young people are experiencing today, and what we want our young people to continue to experience, and what you impart to them. When he was first put into prison, he said, "Lord, what are you doing? I have all these programs that I got to get going." Now, some of you might feel a little bit like this because, you're talking about a restored order of the sacraments, and you have all these programs that you put into place, and they were all working just fine. And now, Lord, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he described in 1997, he spoke at World Youth Day, and he describes in that presentation in Paris, he describes how the Lord spoke to him, not so much with these words, but something like this movement of heart. And it was, stop tormenting yourself. Stop tormenting yourself. Don't you know, if I wanted your programs to be successful, I could put somebody more competent than you in place to get them done? He said, and then he felt the Lord say, "I have called you to myself, and you must learn to distinguish me from my works." Cardinal van Thuan at that moment he said, I had to rethink a lot of things as this prayer was unfolding in my heart. And I suddenly began to realize that my ability to witness to our faith wouldn't be like in some sensational great moment where, I stand up in front of a whole crowd and say, Jesus is Lord, repent, and then they shoot me. All I have to witness, all I have is the present moment right now. This moment. But if I can step out in faith and fill this moment that I have right now with all the love that I can, and then the next moment that the Lord gives me, and the next moment after that the Lord gives me, pretty soon I am going in a direction. I have a line. I'm going somewhere. I'm on a journey. So that's how he chose to live in these re-education camps. And there are descriptions of what he suffered, and it was horrific. But for the other prisoners, no matter what he suffered, he always found the courage to speak a word of hope. And they began to surround him and ask him questions. How is it here that you have so much hope? And he would tell them about the presence of the Lord. He would befriend them. He would get to know them. And every time they gave him a little opening, he would tell them about the presence of the Lord, how the Lord never leaves him, is always at his side. And as they heard this, they began to, some of them weren't Christians, they were Buddhists, and they began to want to become Christian. And so he would baptize them, and they, but even those who didn't want to get baptized, the whole culture of the camp changed. The communists were worried because culture of the camp was meant to break you down psychologically so that they could educate you on how to be a good citizen under communism. But rather than that happening, these communist re-education camps began to become schools of hope. So they moved him from prison to prison, and before they despaired and put him in solitary confinement. And when they put him in solitary confinement, the first thing they thought was, we're going to change the guards frequently because he'll contaminate the guards. The problem is that as they changed the guards, he was infecting a lot of the guards. He always used the same thing. He would befriend them, he'd find out about them, and then when they asked questions, he would tell them things. And so they wanted to learn Latin. They wanted to, because they had an exam or something, so could you teach us Latin? And he said, there's nothing more beautiful than to wake up in a communist re-education camp in solitary confinement at 6 o'clock in the morning to guards singing in the showers at the top of their lungs, the Salve Regina. I want to give you that because I think that experience of Cardinal Van Thuan ties the experience of the early church together with the experience that we need to lead our young people in. And what I want you to notice about that, the sacramental signs, they're a means to an end. They serve something. Cardinal received the sacraments, lived a life of the sacraments, and it gave him the strength for what he needed to do when he needed to do it.